thank you for that introduction. For those of you who this is your first time to be on the webinars, we do these every Wednesday at 4 p.m. Central Time because we try to educate you and tell you as much as we can about the business of becoming a medical revenue manager, and you'll learn a little bit more about that as you hear the interview today with one of our licensees. But from time to time, we actually bring on one of our existing licensees who's been through our training here in Dallas and have gone out and actually done what we taught them to do. And if they do that, they get clients. And so we're going to share that with you today with our guest today, who is a young lady named Jennifer Boyd. Jennifer, you with us today? Still with us?
I am. Hello, everyone.
Hey. Cool. And Eric, I forgot to turn on my iPad, so I have no idea what I'm looking at here, but I'm assuming that we're both on video cam. Is that right? Webcam?
You're both on there. You're both on there fine. You're just doing fine.
I'm going to grab my... Sometimes I like to turn on my iPad as if I'm an attendee just so I can kind of see what is going on here, because you can't tell sometimes, can you, Eric, as to what slide is showing and so forth when you're actually running one of these webinars, but I like to see on here. So before I do that, let me kind of let Jennifer kind of tell you when she went through the training. This is a picture of her and I. As you can see, when we graduate, we take pictures of people with their certification. And Jennifer, that wasn't that long ago, was it?
No, it wasn't. Less than 2 months.
Yeah.
It was a fun time.
Was it September?
September 11th through the 16th.
Oh, you even remember the exact dates. Okay.
Yeah, it's a pivotal moment in my life.
Yeah. And Jennifer, give people a feel for that class. First of all, how many people, do you remember how many were in your class? I don't.
Yeah, there was about 15 attendees.
15, okay. Yeah. The room will hold about 20, so that's about, we could max it out if we put 5 more people in there, wouldn't we?
Yes. Oh, definitely.
And we keep those purposely small, folks, because we want you to be able to ask lots of questions. And Jennifer, you heard lots of questions, and I think you asked lots of questions, didn't you?
I did. I sure did. Cynthia was great. The instructor was great.
Yeah, so why don't you tell them a little bit about the instructor? That might be interesting to some people to know, who we bring in for these trainings.
Yeah, absolutely. First of all, I want to say thank you so much for that opportunity. I had such an amazing experience going there. I didn't know really what to expect, except for the fact that I was going to learn billing. Lo and behold, I learned so much more than just billing. I learned about the healthcare industry in general. I learned about what the main issues are that doctors are facing. And so being able to really grasp concepts above and beyond billing was something that I really appreciated and that I valued. And, obviously our instructor, Cynthia, was amazing. She not only kept us engaged, but whenever we had questions, she was able to answer almost all of the questions, and she just did such an amazing job. High energy. She's very, very, very skilled and talented at what she does. So it was nice that we got the chance to hear from someone who is extremely successful in her healthcare consulting company. So that, to me, was a lot of value.
Yeah, we tell people that, obviously me and Eric and my other staff members there here in Fort Worth could do the training, but that would be kind of like having a college instructor telling you about how to start a business and they've never owned a business, right? So we bring in actual licensees like Cynthia to do the training so that you're hearing from somebody who's actually out there in the field actually doing it, and that makes a big difference, doesn't it?
Oh, it makes a huge difference because we could ask her questions that, we could ask her questions that were scenario-based. What would you do in this case? What would you do in that case? And she was able to answer them genuinely and give real scenarios. So that's always a big plus, and you could learn from someone who's actually in it.
I think one thing people probably fear the most when they're coming down here, Jennifer, I haven't asked you this question, but weren't you thinking, I wonder how technical this is going to get? Is it going to be too deep? Is it going to be boring? Give us a feel for what the content is.
Okay. Well, first of all, it was not boring at all. It was actually really fun. Cynthia she did such an amazing job, like I said, of engaging us and keeping us educated and just interested in the topic. I think that one thing that was great about it was there was a lot of participation from the other attendees. So we got a chance to learn from everyone else that was coming from different backgrounds and different states.
Yeah, and we do that on purpose right there at the very beginning, let you introduce yourself and get to know other people in the room so that you kind of get a feel for who are these, weird people here in the room with me. And we break down those barriers. We get you to networking. I'm sure you met a lot of people that you still, have contacts with, and you become friends with folks during that week, don't you?
Absolutely, yeah. We actually created a group distribution, so we're all emailing each other, giving tips and saying, hey, how's it going for you and what's working for you? So it's great that we get to share our success stories with this.
Yeah, and that's important that you have a support group like that, because it is kind of scary going out on your own. Had you ever been in business for yourself? I mean, had your own business like this one?
Not like this. The only business, so to speak, or organization that I developed was the 501c3 charitable nonprofit organization. And that's actually one of the reasons why I wanted to start my business with ADS is I wanted to have the freedom, I wanted to have the freedom of having my own business, and I wanted to have the flexibility so that I can not only raise my children, but I could also continue my purpose in life. So, everybody will have different motivations as to why they're going to start a business like this. But my personal one was to not only just grow it to the capacity that I want it to, but to be able to run my nonprofit, which, back to your question, it's set up and run very similar to a business. So even though what we're selling is a mission, in essence, really what we're doing is I'm structuring and organizing in such a way. So my experience in creating an organization came from that, but I've never run a business like this.
Yeah, Jennifer, I don't know a whole lot about your nonprofit. You mentioned it there, I think, during the week of training, but I don't know a whole lot. Is there anything you'd like to share with folks on this about it?
Oh, you're so sweet. Well, it's just that it's a 501c3 charitable nonprofit organization, and we support moms that are battling cancer, and they're fairly young. They're in their 20s, 30s, 40s, but they're also raising minor children. So from toddlers all the way to teens, these moms are battling all types of cancer. And so what we do is we provide financial support, we provide educational support, and we just become their peer group support during this time.
Did you start this?
I did, yeah. I'm the founder and the CEO of that nonprofit, and I'm blessed to say that it's running on its own. It's a self-running entity, and that's what allows me to be able to venture off and now do a for-profit business for the benefit of my family.
That is fantastic, Jennifer. I love to hear that kind of story from a young woman like you starting something like that. I'm sure that's very dear to your heart, and congratulations on being able to run that and have your own business now to support that.
Yes, thank you very much.
All right, so folks, I'm going to be asking Jennifer some questions, as you can see, starting out here, but I'm also going to open it up for you guys. If you'll look for the question box there on your GoToWebinar control panel that's probably hiding somewhere on your screen right now, you'll see that there's a little box called questions. You can click on that, and inside that, type in the questions. We see it here live on our end, and I'll read those out loud to Jennifer, and we'll just get her feedback on what you want to know about her business. I know that sometimes people want to know right off the bat, and this is from Steve. He says, how long did it take you to get your first account, and how many do you have now? So let's start with that, just right off the bat. How long did it take you to get your first account, and how many do you have total?
So right after training, it took me 2 weeks to land my first account, and 2 months out of training, I'm happy and grateful to say that I've landed 3 clients.
Wow. So since September, the last part of September, I guess by the time that week was over, September 18th or something like that, you've actually got 3 clients signed up. That's great.
I do, yes, and I'm just extremely excited about all of them. But I have to thank ABS for the trainings because ultimately the strategies that they have in terms of reaching out to my warm market and reaching out to these physicians really impacted the way I approached them. So I know that I can't give all the credit to myself. I know that the training and what support ABS offered played a major role. So.
Well, thank you, Jennifer. Hey, you've done terrific. Obviously, people want to know a little bit more details here. Darnell says, so you're making money just 2 months in? It takes a little while, actually, for the cash flow to get rolling in this business, doesn't it?
Well, what's interesting is these doctors, there's obviously a setup fee, and then there's a percentage per month that we collect from what they collect from the billing. And with all 3 clients, I was able to capture a real nice setup fee in the thousands per client. So to me, I recouped a lot of my initial investment pretty fast. So probably in a month or 2, I'll probably will have reached my investment with ABS.
Yeah, so folks, what she's saying there is we teach you to get a setup fee when you enroll the doctor in your billing service, and depending on whether or not they go with the electronic medical record system, they can have access to that. There's a fee for that, and so those setup fees are yours to keep, right? You don't send any of that money back to ABS, do you?
Nope. I just the one time to ABS, and that's it. This is my company, Prosperity MD. This is my company, and this is the money comes right back to me.
Yeah, so folks, basically what we tell people is it's your business, it's not ours. Once we have your one-time, lifetime licensing fee, that's it. That's all you'll ever pay back to ABS. It's not like a franchise where you have to pay some royalties, a percentage of all your gross profits every month, and that type of thing. All right, so let's see. Boy, lots of questions coming in now after you started talking about money. This is from Julie. She says, Jennifer, what is your educational background?
Hi, Julie. So I have a bachelor's degree in business administration and economics, and I also have a certificate in healthcare administration.
Oh, I did not even know that, Jennifer.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. Healthcare administration. Tell me what that's all about.
Well, so if you're looking to become, I took a certification class at UCLA, and these were classes that just taught you about U.S. healthcare reform, about healthcare, and then if you're going to have any leadership roles in healthcare, how to navigate around the system, dealing with HR, dealing with administration, dealing with laws and regulations. So that's what the classes were all about. This was in 2012.
Yeah, and so that really didn't have anything to do with this business, though, right? I mean, as far as billing.
As far as billing, no. I had zero experience in billing.
Okay, so let's see. I'm sorry, what's that?
Oh, I said that's why I know this can be done
because you can do it without any knowledge, huh?
I have zero. I mean, I just learn. You just have to learn, and then you get the training.
Yeah. Now, I'm going to be throwing some other slides up on the screen, folks, just so you'll have something to look at since you can see us both on the webcam. Sometimes we have people that have a webcam and sometimes they don't, so we have pictures of us that you just saw. But I just realized we have pictures of us and then we also have webcam. So I'll throw some other slides that'll kind of give you some other information. Sometimes we have people on these webinars, Jennifer, that are brand new. They've never been on one before, and then there's others who've been on many of them, and so we kind of try to keep it as interesting as we can. So let's talk about this for a second, how you actually got that first client. Give us a feel for what marketing method Was it one of the methods we teach during the week as to far as how you reached out to this first client?
Yeah, absolutely. So what I did was during training, they showed us this wonderful book. So this book is The New Thriving Medical Practice. And Patrick Phillips, our CEO of ABS, and Vicki Rackner were the MD, who were the ones who wrote the book. And this book really, in essence, talks about thriving in the Affordable Care Act. You know, it's a difficult time for the doctors because not only do they have to take care of patients, but they also have to try to learn how to generate revenue, dealing with payers, dealing with staff. I mean, there's so many different variables. So what's great about this book is it really sums up why you need to look at your revenue, and then secondarily why it's important for you to outsource or to figure out other ways that you could look at your revenue and update your systems. So by updating your systems, that's going to ultimately help out with the revenue stream. So I love the book because you know, I like to bring solutions to my doctors and to my clients, and I like to say, look, I could fix or update or refine or rebuild your practice, but I want you to read this book first. Read this book first. Let me know what you think. And what I did with all my clients is I brought this book to them. I said, take a look at it, read it, let me know, and I'll come back next week. And if you have any questions, you know, let me know. But lo and behold, my first client, when I gave him the book, that afternoon he said, Jennifer, can you come back to my office right now? I said, sure. Okay, so I came back to his office. He said, I want to know all about this book. Tell me what's all about it. And I said, well, you know, and I gave him the rundown, and I said, look, just take the time to read the highlighted parts. So during training, we highlighted certain parts of the book that were going to be key, and he read them, and then the following week I came back and he said, yeah, tell me more about it. I'm really interested. I read the book. I want to know more about your system and how you could generate revenue for me. And I said, okay, well, I mean, in order to start the process, doctor, we have to do a practice analysis. I'd have to sit down with you and your office manager. And he said, okay, let's do it right now. So I said, okay, let's do it right now. So we started, thank you, Patrick. So we went down and I started asking just like
this is page one. There's actually like 3 pages of this thing, aren't there? There's a lot of questions that we've come up with, but this is page 1. I just thought I'd throw it up there while you're talking about it.
Thank you. Yeah. So, you know, in essence, it's just like when you're on a let's say on a date and you're asking a ton of questions to find out about this person. Well, the practice analysis questionnaire is very similar, but it's directed at the practice. So you know, I asked the questions about their billing. Do they outsource? Do they have in-house billing? What does their rejection rate look like? What are you currently doing to confirm appointments with your patients? So these are questions that you're just trying to gauge and find out what they currently do in their practice. So once I was done doing the questionnaire, I went home and used the practice analysis tool that allowed me to really generate the numbers I needed to see where this doctor was revenue-wise. So this first cardiologist, it was pretty interesting. I know Patrick is showing you a template or a sample of a practice revenue report.
Yeah, this is not the actual one that she did for this particular doctor. It's just a sample. Yeah.
Right. So I'll just give you some interesting numbers. So for my first client, he's a cardiologist. He brings in, if you see there, the total amount collected per month. He brings in $80,000 a month, according to what he says. But he charges out $2.5 million a month.
So you're saying that he's actually
I'm sorry.
insurance companies.
I'm sorry. he charges out $250,000 a month and collects $80,000 a month. So long story short, okay, sorry. So long story short, he should be collecting more.
Yeah. Let's see, 250,000, and you're saying he only brings in 80,000 of that?
Mm-hmm.
I think I did this right. That's only 32% of what he's what he's billing out.
Yeah, he also has a pretty big issue. So but now that he's hired me as his consultant, I'm there to come and fix what's happening.
Isn't that a great feeling? Not having had any background in this business, you now can position yourself in your community as a medical revenue consultant. That's pretty impressive.
Yeah. Yes, certified medical revenue management.
So in this example, of course, we're showing the bottom line is that we can increase this sample doctor's revenue, 123,000. My goodness, if you could get his even up to, let's see, that's a 32%, then he's got a 68% rejection rate, doesn't he? Yeah. I mean, denial rate, or he's losing that much money of his revenue, that you could get a huge portion of that in. I'm sure you can double the 80,000 that he's bringing in now. So.
Oh, I'm sure he can, and I, you know, he was reluctant at first only because he wasn't sure with these numbers. But as I started to talk to him more about how we can do that, starting with iClaim, the practice management flow, the practice management scheduling, as well as EMRX, which is the electronic health records portion of it. Once I was able to kind of explain how this works in union together and helps with the revenue cycle, he started to understand how there's a possibility that you will be capturing more revenue by fixing the eligibility insurance at the beginning, or just fixing issues at the very core. And that's essentially me coming in as a consultant now, and as Prosperity MD, I'm saying, you know, let me look first at what your foundation looks like. Now that I've been trained and I know how, I could look and see where there's leaks or where there may be some problems or pain points. So I go in and I get the opportunity to be able to fix it now with the products and services that ABS trained me on that I never knew about before.
Yeah, and of course you've just got just the billing, the iClaim system that you'll be using for the billing, and the electronic medical record system, the EMRX, in the office now. Just think what will happen, that you can introduce all these other services that we have available, once you get up and running on these two.
Oh, absolutely. And in fact, the doctors have already agreed on Choice Pay, Quick Collect, and CodeWrite, but I haven't done that portion yet. So we wanted to first onboard them with iClaim and EMRX, and then they're interested in the other services as well. And as they grow with me and I fine-tune their business more, then yeah, I would love to offer them more products like the Physician Toolbox, the iDocs Now and Audit Guard.
Yeah, and one of the reasons we came up with all these different services, Jennifer, is because I say it like this to people. Look, once you've caught the whale, you want to get as many harpoons in the whale as you can, right? Because with that more services in the office, it would be very hard for some other competitor to come along in the future and take that client away from you. Not that they're going to take it away anyway, because we don't lose clients because we've increased their revenue by so much. Usually they love us and they're going to stay with us. But that's why we came up with all the other services. And some people use these as door openers. Now, this doctor you found through, you said earlier to me at least, through your warm market. That's one of the ways we teach you to go out and connect with people. But you could just go door to door really with some of these services and get the attention of a doctor or an office manager by just talking about any one of these. They all have great potential to help the practice in some way or another, and then somewhere down the line maybe they turn over their billing to you, even if they're doing it themselves. Was this cardiologist doing their own billing then?
My first cardiologist was actually, he has a, he's outsourcing, or he was outsourcing his billing.
Oh, he was.
And
Okay.
yes, so he understands the concept of outsourcing. But when I came and I introduced the concept of, revenue cycle management, looking at more than just the billing to kind of fine tune and increase your revenue, he was really, that's why he was interested, because he knew, I think that he's having some issues with, in fact, I know he's having issues with his previous medical billing company.
Yeah.
And so I don't think, in fact, I know they're probably not using the same tools that I am, and they don't have the same offerings that I do in terms of collections and real-time. They may have real-time eligibility, but there's just so much more that I can offer. And the way I've positioned myself for my company, Prosperity ND, is that we provide such a high amount of customer support. So I'm there at the offices as often as I want to be, or as often as they want me to be there. Now, I don't necessarily have to go, but that's just me. I get to create, I get to create my business the way I want to design it. And so for me, I can definitely do the data entry and the work at home, which is great, but I also love going to the offices. I love going to the doctor's offices and talking to them, so I spend a lot of time there as well.
Yeah, I mean, once you've made a connection with a doctor's office, you become their friend. They look to you as the person who has the answers to some of the cash flow problems that they're having, don't they?
Yes, they do.
All right, so
it's fun.
yeah, it's a good place to be in a community that you are advising doctors, on how to run their practice and stay in private practice. That's what the book is all about, right, that we wrote. Okay, here's a comment from Gregory. He says, wow, did you already have contacts established, or were they cold calls? So, Gregory, I'll let her answer, but basically when we talk about warm marketing, that's one of the things that we teach you is you don't have to go out and knock doors for something like this. People have contacts, and we can show you how to make contacts with people in your community who do know the doctors. So you're positioning yourself with some strategic partners in your community, and so that's what your first one was, one of the warm markets that you had, wasn't it?
It was, and one thing that I learned during training is that I know more people than I thought I knew, because when they teach you during training about networking and how to focus in and start with your warm market, those are people that you just know as friends or colleagues. And that's where I started. I started with colleagues that I knew, or friends that knew doctors, and it wasn't. I was ready to do the work, and I'm still ready to do more of the networking. But I was able to kind of tap into my warm market and find doctors that not only were interested, but they fit that profile of the client that I would want to work for.
Right. Yeah, and then of course we teach you and give you a tool, don't we, during the class that you can actually use with your warm market to introduce them to all the services that you have for doctors. Again, you're not trying to sell anybody that's in your warm market, unless you have a doctor that's in your warm market, but we use that tool, that presentation tool, to explain what you do, so that those people that you're explaining it to will know whether or not they know doctors that might have some need for some of those many services that we had on the screen there a while ago.
Yeah, I just wanted to add to that real quickly. When I was first introduced to the idea of warm market with ABS, I wasn't quite sure what they meant. And just like you said, it's just people, when you're talking about your company, you're just saying, hey, yeah, this is what I do. This is, it's out there, and if you happen to know anyone, let me know. It's a real easy conversation. It's basically telling people what you do, but with no pressure, no sales, nothing like that. And then if they just happen to be a person that needs your services, or they happen to know someone, then the action comes back. But yes, like Patrick said, it's just telling someone, hey, this is what I do now, and I love it, and if you happen to know anyone, let me know. And it becomes a very easy conversation, and I think you'll be surprised at how many doctors want to make more money.
Yeah, and we have basically a presentation that you can use, on your iPad if you wanted just to flip through it like slides, just like I'm doing here on this presentation. Or we even have a printed flip chart that we let you take with you, just so that on one-on-one you can just kind of go through it and explain all of it. And we even practice that in the class, don't we, to kind of give you a feel for how you go through that.
Oh yeah, we definitely practice it. I use both of them out there in the real world. I use both of them, and they both worked out great in different instances. Using the iPad or using the flip booklet.
Flip chart, yeah. Let's see. There's a couple of questions on here, Chuck. I'm looking at you that are questions that really have to do with the business in general. I'm going to answer first the questions, or ask the questions to Jennifer that specifically, have to do with her and her business. So let me go here to Tim, and I'll get back to some of those other questions that I mentioned, Chuck. Tim is just asking, what kind of doctor do you have as clients? So why don't you tell us about the other two doctors? You said you had two other practices that you'd signed up. Are they all cardiologists?
No, so my second one is a primary care physician, and then my third one is actually a physician's assistant. So
Yeah,
I have three providers, very wide variety, but
yeah.
Cardiologist, which is a specialist, very, 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 very intricate practice, and then I have the primary care doctor, and then I have the physician's assistant. So
now, tell us about the physician's assistant. How did you come across that person, and what do they do that you can bill for?
So the physician's assistant works for the primary care physician, and so she's considered a rendering provider. And so she sees patients just like the doctor does, and she has her own NPI, and she has her own DEA for prescribing medications. So she had to be set up solely as a provider. So, and as a client, it's my job to make her feel that she has support and that she feels comfortable with the new system. So all three of them, I give, very high level of support, But the physician's assistant she's connected with the primary care physician, and I bill for her as well.
Right, and so people don't realize that somebody who's a physician's assistant can actually prescribe and so forth, and do procedures that you can bill for as well.
Oh, yes, yes.
Let's see, Jonathan is saying the clients that you have, are they physicians' offices or larger medical organizations? I think these are all fairly small then, aren't they, from what I'm hearing?
Yes, they're all small, and I knew that I wanted to focus on the small to medium medical practices. So yeah, your doctor's office down the street or down the way. I didn't want to focus on the big ones because I knew that I would best be positioned to go for the small to medium practices.
Yes. And that's what we teach you to go after first, at least. You don't want to sign on one that has, well, we've got clients, we have licensees who signed up groups of 300 doctors. That's not a good one to start with.
No.
You get your feet wet, don't you?
Yes.
Let's see, Jonathan also says, how did these clients compare what they were using to what you're doing for them now? So tell us about these three clients. Were they? You said the first one, I think, was actually outsourcing their billing to somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
And what about the other two?
The other two have an in-house biller. Now, this in-house biller is a medical assistant. She was never certified in billing. She's not a certified medical revenue manager. She didn't really have the knowledge in terms of billing. So she was hired though by the doctor to do these administrative tasks that deal with billing. What I've uncovered in landing these two clients, I'll say the primary care physician, is that they had a major issue with their billing. Doctor was losing lots of money because they were using an in-house billing system that wasn't very efficient. So luckily I came in at a good time because now I am getting all the rejected claims, helping them fix the claims, and then moving forward, updating their whole practice to this new system. They already feel empowered that they're going to start getting a nice revenue stream. Things are going to start flowing better. So to answer, I'm sorry, I don't remember his name, but to answer his question about the difference, these doctors were on the old system of billing and other things. And now that I've come in offering these products, or these services, I should say, they're going to have state-of-the-art, up-to-date, cloud-based solutions for their practice. So to me, our job, or your job as a new consultant and as a company, to say, look, I can help you get to that point. I can help transition you to get you to, because ultimately the doctors want to be at that state-of-the-art electronic health record, using the computer for their patients. They want to be there, but they just don't know how. So that's where your company or my company comes in.
Yeah, the electronic medical record system that we have, called EMRX, allows the doctor to have immediate access to all of their patient records anywhere in the world that has an internet connection on any device, a phone, an iPad, a tablet, a computer of any kind. Yeah, it's amazing how this cloud-based system makes it so available to everybody, including you, of course.
Yeah.
Now, this is interesting. We got a couple of questions here, political questions, kind of. So I'm just going to barely touch on them here, but I'm going to touch on Chuck's question here about, he says, do you feel that President-elect Donald Trump will make any difference to our business? And then Thomas says, when Obamacare is ultimately repealed and replaced, will the ABS business model be impacted? How do you, Jennifer, how do you think that would impact our business if we didn't have Obamacare, we went back to the system we had before Obamacare, or it was replaced by something else?
Well, I will say this, okay? So regardless of Obamacare, as a society, we have to evolve and move forward with technology, and we have to move forward with IT and systems that are going to make us more efficient. I mean, that's the only way that we can compete with others around the globe. And essentially just the generations of our children, we have to be able to keep up with the evolution of IT because it goes fast. And doctors, although some are resistant to it, IT is important. And the reason why I say that is part of Obamacare dealt with getting the doctors to update their systems and use codes that were more updated and classified around the world. I know I'm kind of getting into it deep, but how it's going to impact, I don't think this impacts, in fact, what I'm trying to say is that regardless of either party or vision of future healthcare, doctors in general need to update their systems. So I don't know if that makes any sense. So I believe that healthcare is one of those demand industries where there's always going to be sick people, unfortunately, and there's always going to be doctors. We need to be able to help upgrade their systems, and that's not going anywhere. And so that's why I believe that my business and the business that hopefully you guys will join me in too, it is something that we can help these doctors. We can help them update their systems regardless of healthcare, regardless of the direction of Obamacare.
You know, it's funny because we're getting these questions here about Obamacare being repealed and replaced or whatever, and we used to, several years back, 8 years ago, you know, when it was first introduced, we had all these questions, well, how's this going to impact this business? You know, Jennifer, my wife and I started doing medical billing back in 1987. And at that time, I honestly thought that we'd probably be out of business in 2 or 3 years. You know why? Because back then, it was all done on paper. There was no electronic. There were no computers back then in medical use. And so I thought, well, as soon as all the doctors get to where they can do it electronically, they'll be pushing buttons and doing their own filing, and that'll be the end of a need for an external outsourced medical billing company. That was 22 years ago. So I think you just hit it on the nail on the head, Jennifer. I put it this way: as long as there's people, as long as people get sick, as long as people have to go to a doctor, and as long as the doctor needs to get paid, somebody has to bill somebody for the doctor to get paid.
Yeah, there's definitely a need for this. There's definitely a need.
All right. Jasmine says, Jennifer, define some of your challenges with the business so far. Interesting. Any challenges?
So the only challenge that I've come across so far is, landing 3 clients within weeks of
2 months,
leaving. That's been my challenge. Is just I happen to land 3 clients so quickly after training that the process of onboarding 1 client is actually, there's a level of work, but when you have 3, that's a lot of work. So that's my challenge right now, is just making sure that I'm making the clients happy, but at the same time doing all the administrative parts and pieces to make sure that I onboard them correctly. That's been my only challenge so far.
And Jennifer, you know that we're here, of course, to help.
Yes. And ABS has provided, ample support. Again, they provide lifetime support. So every time I have a question, I'm calling ABS support. I am calling the iClaim and EMRX support system. So there's a lot of support. Even though it's challenging, there's support out there, and training and webinars. So I never at one point did I feel like I don't have the tools or the support that I need. It was just a matter of me going out and get it.
We probably would not recommend that somebody go out and sign up 3 clients within 2 months. But hey, it's a good problem to have, juggling all 3 of them at one time, huh?
Right. Yeah. So now I just have to deliver but I'm real happy about it. I like I said, I attribute it to the training. The training was awesome.
Jennifer, if you do a good job for these doctors, there's no reason why you should ever have to do any marketing of any kind ever again, right?
Right, because of the referrals, and that's what I'm hoping for. All 3 of my doctors or providers have said, Jennifer, if you bring in more cash and you bring in more revenue, you do know that I'm going to be telling all of my friends, right? And I said, I know that. I said, that's why I'm here working, just trying to make you happy.
Right.
Delivering.
Darnell says, Jennifer, are your clients local to where you are?
They are local, and I'm planning on expanding, and I'm going to go outside of my local arena. And so, but the 3 doctors that I do have are local.
We're getting some interesting questions today I've never heard before. Here's one from Gary, too.
Okay.
What is a bad day in your business?
That's a good question. Okay, so a bad day in my business would be when a client has a lot of questions and they're seemingly teetering on they're not sure if they want to continue, but then they do, and then I go back and I have to do a lot of paperwork. That would be a bad day, and I think that's never even happened. But I've had a lot more good days. I do have to say that one of the things I love about this business so far is the flexibility. I have 2 children, and I'm very, very, very busy, and I work 10 to 3. I figured out my hours. I said, I'm going to drop my kids off, and then when they're off at school, that's when I'll work. And then when I stop at 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, I'm done. I go pick them back up at 4 o'clock, take them to soccer or guitar lessons. The quality of my life is great, and I have this very profitable venture here. So that's what I'm most excited about. It's like I have the best of both worlds. I have the flexibility, and then I also have what it takes to bring in some real nice revenue.
Yeah, now Laura's asking, how much time do you spend actually doing the billing per week for 3 doctors? And Laura, let me just say before she answers that there's a ramp up time. There's an implementation period for each one of those clients that she's right in the middle of right now. So you've done some claims, is that right, Jennifer, for one of them?
I have, yes. And my other certified revenue medical manager that is with me has also done claims, and we've probably entered maybe 400 claims so far. And so in terms of work put together, I mean, once this is up and running, the initial part is always a little bit more time consuming, but what I could see how once the doctors are up and running and everything's running smoothly, I could see myself doing maybe 2 hours a day of medical billing.
Yeah, 3 clients, unless they're doing a tremendous number of claims every day, would not be that many claims per day per practice. Have you kind of done some calculations on that? I mean, you said 2 hours. How many claims do you think that would be for all 3 of them?
Well, I also have help. So I had a colleague of mine come and was certified with me. I went to training with me. So I have another certified revenue medical manager, and I had the opportunity for him to come and learn the system. So he's helping. So I guess, he's doing a couple hours, I'm doing a couple hours, so the both of us together are able to manage the 3 clients. But to answer your question, Patrick, you're asking about, what were you asking about?
What was I asking about?
You were asking a question about the 3 clients.
Oh, yeah, how much time it would take to do the billing for all 3 of them in a day. You said a couple of hours a day with some help.
Yeah, a couple hours a day with some help.
Yeah. Now, nobody's asked this question specifically, but I see a couple of questions that I think are hinting at what type of money, revenue you would see as your business. Have you done any calculations on that? Got any feel for what it would take to maybe replace your prior income, for example?
Of course. So I've done some calculations, and with the 3 clients, I'm projected to bring in about $100,000 this year or next year, or in a year. In a year is what I'm looking. So we
for your company.
For my company, and again, as I offer more products and as I'm able to streamline their revenue process even more, I'm going to be able to collect more. So that projection is actually it's on the lower end. Again, that's my company. I'm projecting that with these 3 clients, I'm going to bring in around $100,000 for revenue for my company, which is great.
Yeah, that's a good place to be after a couple of months in business to have that kind of revenue. All right, let's see. Thomas says, what state does Jennifer do business in? And are there any state-by-state differences that are specific to this business model? And then he asked if ABS has clients in New York. Yes, Thomas, we do have some clients in New York. I mean, through licensees, of course. But there's a lot of doctors in New York.
My company is in California, and so that's where I was been doing the networking and marketing. But you can essentially get clients anywhere in the nation, and they'll talk about that during training, how to do that, because in your warm market, you may know a friend that knows a doctor in Kansas that needs your assistance, and you're able to do a lot of this stuff remotely. There's TeamViewer, there's so many different things. Nowadays, 30% of people work from home. We're going to be part of that 30% working from home because we could do so much on the computer and remotely. So to answer his question, I may have clients here locally, but you can get clients anywhere throughout the nation and work with them.
People find it hard to wrap their brain around that, Jennifer, but that's what happens. These 3 doctors that you signed up, for example, one of them probably knows a doctor in another state. When they refer that doctor to you, you don't want to turn that doctor down. That's why we don't have any territories. It's not like a franchise. You can literally sign up doctors anywhere in the United States, including Alaska and Hawaii, which I don't think we show here on this picture. Julie says, do you have anyone working for you? How much training does your client need on the software, and how many clients could you handle?
So I do have somebody working for me right now as a certified medical revenue manager. He did go to training with me, and so he had absolutely no experience in billing, but after training has got the certification, learned what he needed to learn in terms of how to file the claim, and it was there was a learning curve, but he was able to do it. So I have one person working for me right now. I'm about to recruit another person because I plan to grow, and so I'm just trying to prepare for that growth. Obviously I have 3, and I want to make my 3 clients happy, but I have plans of growing, and so I want to make sure that I have the right people in place to project for that growth.
Yeah, and are you talking about adding another person in the data entry area or a sales rep?
Data entry.
Okay. So you may not need any sales reps. You may have all the sales people you need with the 3 doctors giving you referrals.
Yeah.
Jasmine says, can we have a free demo of the software on this call? Jasmine, not today, but we do have webinars where we've done demos, and the person who sent you the email about this webinar, they would be glad to give a live demo one-on-one with you anytime you want. So just email them back and say, hey, I want to see a demo of this fantastic software. Let's see, Ron says, when setting up for iClaim and EMRX, how much time would you say on average do you spend with them? He wants to have an idea as to what it takes to, I guess, get them set up and get the billing going.
I spend about maybe 2 hours a week with them.
Okay.
So, for my cardiology, well, actually face-to-face or the time spent getting the administrative part does take a little bit longer. But then when I actually see them, I see them maybe 2 to 3 hours a week. But that's only because this is the beginning portion where you're doing a lot of implementation, you're onboarding them. So there's a lot of face time at the beginning, and then as I can see that they're running on their own, they're using the system. I won't need to go there anymore, and I'll just only when they need me, and then I'll just be doing the billing on the computer from home.
Sure. Well, that's the great thing about having a cloud-based system is you can actually work with them across the internet, just like we're doing right here, looking at their screen, and seeing exactly what's happening there long distance with all the tools that are available out there. Boy, we're running out of time here, Jennifer. Real quickly, let me just ask a couple more questions. Lena asked, are you working alone or do you have people working for you? I think we addressed that, of course. Zaid says, how long does it take after getting the doctor's approval to start the actual billing process?
It takes 4 to 6 weeks.
4 to 6 weeks, yeah. That sounds like a long time to people, but boy, there's just a lot that has to be set up, and everything has to be right in place to get that going. Now, you're doing billing already, you said, Jennifer, for one of the doctors, and maybe it has been 4 weeks or 6 weeks. I guess it could be. It's been 2 months since you signed them up, I guess.
Yeah, so we started doing the billing about 2 weeks ago because these are rejected claims. So these are claims that needed to be resubmitted, and so I said, let me start on them right away. And I figured out which payers we're going through. So those payers, the Cigna and Health Net, they're starting to go through. So yeah, I actually started doing the medical billing already.
Good. Lena says, are you working from home or are you working from an office?
This is my home office. I'm
This
working
is it.
This is my office, which is a write-off, and this is also my home. So I get to wake up and go straight to work on the computer. It's great. I love it. Love it, love it, love it.
Now, how are you getting the data? Ron's asking a question here about using iDocs Now, our document management system, scanning things in, setting up existing clients into the servers and so forth. Are you using something? How do you get the data right now from your doctors?
So I manually input them in because we haven't done the data migration process yet. I've offered to do some negotiations with their current EHR to do data migration. So we haven't done that yet, but what's happening is I've trained the staff on how to input the data or input the patients so that we can create a chart.
Yeah, but Ron, to answer your question, iDocs Now is a great system for doing that because it is an online cloud-based system that the doctor, putting a little $400 scanner in their office, can scan everything in, and then you and your data entry people can have access to all those documents, all HIPAA compliant, of course, for patient privacy purposes, through our iDocs Now service. Thomas says, how much is the initial, that's about our startup cost. Thomas, I'll answer that once we get Jennifer free here. And this is a question here, training licenses and so forth. Okay, I think that's wrapping it up. Here's an interesting one from Joyce Lynn. We'll wrap this up with her question. This is Joyce Lynn from Las Vegas. I've been a medical revenue cycle manager for over 15 years, tired of working for other people. How much resistance have you seen from the office staff so far?
Zero resistance. I'd like to say that I was lucky, but I'm also very strategic. When you go into the office staff, you having the medical billing experience is phenomenal. I think that's great. They're already, if you're going to go in and get this additional jump, go off on your own. If you're tired working for people, this is perfect for you because that's where I was at. I didn't want to work for anyone anymore. I want to work for myself and be self-employed. So you even have the experience, which is great. I didn't have any experience, and I said I'm going to move forward and I'm going to take the leap, and I'm glad I did. So I think for you, resistance with the staff I didn't run into much resistance. The only person that I had any type of interaction with on a higher level was the in-house medical biller at the doctor's office. But once I explained to her what we're doing to try to help the doctor, then she kind of understood that she just needed to be on board to help with the situation. As long as you make sure that you explain that you're not taking over her job or anything like that, you just have to kind of explain that this is a process that needs to be updated, and doctors have hired me to do it.
Yeah, and besides, we teach people to work with the doctor's staff and reallocate their time because you're going to be bringing more money into the practice, but the doctor can also see more patients. And so those staff members are now dedicated to the thing that makes more money for the doctor, seeing patients, bringing more patients in and helping the doctor see those patients rather than getting bogged down in all the paperwork. Well, Jennifer, the hour flew by pretty fast, didn't it?
I know. Thank you, everyone, for great questions. And I'm sorry I couldn't answer all of them. And thank you, Patrick, for having me.
Well, thank you, Jennifer, very much. And I'll get back with you here sometime tomorrow, and we'll talk about some things that we talked about at the very beginning here. So thanks again for being on here, Jennifer. Really appreciate your time.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Bye.
Okay, bye-bye.